What is up, everybody? Sorry I had to end that last stream real quick. Had a phone call. But you know what? It's late night. I got my man Smitty on my left here. You know what? Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. 49ers. Is there even a possibility to get Lamar Jackson? I don't think so. I don't know. I want to hear Smitty's take on it. Obviously, today, big news that kind of shocked the NFL world was Lamar Jackson. He got the non-exclusive franchise tag, right? And it's a $32.4 million non-exclusive franchise tag. And basically, what that means, if you don't know, he is now allowed to negotiate with other teams, but the Ravens have the right to match that offer. And if he signs with one of those other teams, that's a 2 first-round picks in exchange for Lamar Jackson. It's pretty crazy, right? So that's kind of the situation. And there's a lot of teams that don't want him, it sounds like. The Atlanta Falcons. I'm sure you talked about this today, Smitty. The Miami Dolphins. There's all these reports of all these teams that don't want him. Does it make sense for the 49ers again? Can they even get him? Because, again, the 49ers don't have 2 first-round picks. But I want you to chime in. What do you think about Lamar Jackson, the whole situation? Is there even a chance the 49ers have to get a Lamar Jackson? And before we even get to that point, would he even make sense on the team? Like, would he be able to elevate this team? What do you think, Smitty?
Well, I mean, there's a long way around trying to get him on the roster, but you guys aren't even allowed to negotiate with him. You're not even allowed to speak to him, because in order to be able to negotiate with somebody that is non-exclusive franchise tag, you have to have a 2023 first rounder. You have to have a 2024 first rounder. You can wait until after the draft. And at that point, if you have, I don't even know if you guys have a 2025. I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah.
You have a 2024 and a 2025. But then all of a sudden,
you have a 24 and 25. So the only way the 49ers can actually they'd have to do a unique situation, because you're right. They can't offer 2 first rounds this year. They would have to wait until the draft goes, and then they can offer their first round picks for 24, 25. That's the only way they could spin this.
Yeah. I'm going to stand up because I'm freaking so exhausted. So 1 second. Sorry. Can you hear me okay? Is this the right mic?
You're good, Smitty. You're good.
So the roundabout way is that you guys could wait until after the NFL draft if for any reason he is not, the situation is still lingering, then obviously you can entertain that, as could Miami Mike and the Dolphins. They don't have a first round pick as well. So same goes for Miami. So you guys are both going to potentially be late players in the game if, in fact, Lamar doesn't garner interest like people are suggesting early. But the crazy thing about, just real quickly before we get to the Niner part, is that it wasn't 2.5, 3 hours before everybody was trying to paint a picture that the market was dry for him. And it's like teams didn't have a chance to even adjust and adapt yet to the news that he was non-exclusive franchise tag. That was a crazy thing because he commands 3 first rounders on the open market. His asking price, according to what everything we've been hearing, is so crazy. As he wants Deshaun Watson money, to $230 million guaranteed, and that is a big number for now. It won't be a big number 2 or 3 years from now. So you have to really weigh all that out, and your likelihood of being in this position again. So if, like, for example, you're the Carolina Panthers and you're out already, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It's incompetence for a team to not want to go down this road and see what offer sheet he'd accept. Like, to not even explore Lamar Jackson as the Carolina Panthers or the Raiders. And we don't even know if those are going to end up being actual, like, factual statements that have been made from the organization. They're not interested. The Panthers are not interested. The Raiders are not interested. How do we know all this? That you're telling me every team is going to actually reveal yes or no to that? No, you're asking, and everything's a source, Raj. Everything's according to sources. When did we get to the point where we used to make fun of that? When we hear someone say according to a source and it wasn't named, we would go, "Oh yeah, source." Now, does anybody remember the last time you actually heard a name? No, people always say sources now, and they get away with it. It drives me nuts. But there is no chance that the 5 or 6 teams, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Dolphins, who can't even partake right now, and the Falcons, all gave a definitive no. Somebody close to the situation said they're not going to be interested. And then those people reported on it. So I almost guarantee you one or two of these teams are not a no. And we're going to hear about that later. But as far as the Niner question, I would say this. I would say, I know you guys aren't going to want to hear this. And I know everybody thinks, this is Trey Lance's agent. He's going to be all behind Trey. I don't believe Shanahan is going to put Trey Lance in the best position to win. I don't think Shanahan's going to put Trey Lance in the best position to stay healthy. It's not me being negative. It's not me trying to hate on Shanahan. It's the fact that there's some telling signs from, hey, he's a hybrid quarterback, or he's a dual threat, I think were his exact words, makes me think he's going to run him as a dual threat quarterback. And he is a pocket passer that has not been given a chance to prove he's a pocket passer in my mind. So like, I just feel like it's from the beginning, it just felt like he was going to ruin the guy. And with Brock Purdy being such an unknown, and given that Debo, I know Debo signed to a long-term deal, but he's not going to, like, the way he runs, though, how aggressive he is, you don't know if the shelf life is going to be 3 or 4 years. You just don't know. Like I know that sounds crazy how Smitty, we just signed him, but he could be a 2-year, elite player and then have a bunch of injuries and struggle. Kittle could have one more good season left. You're going to lose a lot of people too. And it's good you have rookie contracts and all, but the salary cap's going up so much. You guys have so much available. If it's me and I'm in control of this team, I go all in for a championship, because you know what a championship would do? You know what an NFL Super Bowl ring would do? It would feed the city. It would feed the team, ticket sales, merchandise sales, energy. It would feed it for another 10 years. It would feed you guys. You guys could suffer through another 9 years without a Super Bowl, and you'd be fine, because you
suffered through
finally
25
got it.
years without one. You're absolutely right. Like Smitty, and I agree. Like I love the young quarterbacks. I love Brock. There's an unknown with his surgery. His surgery's Friday. We're still on the fence. We're pending on what's going to happen. You have Trey Lance, and you're right. Like the fact that Kyle calls him a dual threat, to me, it's like he doesn't trust him as a pocket passer. I want him to. I hope he does. I hope he can get there. But get it. Lamar's an MVP, and people sit here and they say, "Well, he's only won one game in the playoffs." Look at the team he's had with the Ravens. Let's just sit here and let's call a spade, because the Ravens, it's not like they had this elite offensive roster. They had great defense. Greg Roman was their offensive coordinator, and he was the 49ers offensive coordinator before, and he's not good. I don't like him. They had a great head coach. Harbaugh's great, but they can never put together good wins. It's not Lamar's fault. I think Lamar is a great quarterback, but also the thing is, would Kyle Shanahan utilize him as a dual threat? Do you think he would believe in him being a pocket passer? I don't know, but I definitely feel that Lamar, he's an MVP. This guy is damn good quarterback. I don't think that the 49ers have the money to make it work, but if they could, I would do it, man, because you have a short window. You don't know how long these guys are going to be able to be at their peak. I agree with you. Kittle, Debo, those guys are amazing.
I didn't get to McCaffrey yet.
Forever. And we didn't even mention Christian McCaffrey. Like, we have an amazing team. You go get the quarterback. Like, what does everybody talk about this offseason? Quarterback. Figure out a quarterback. People say Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Lamar's an elite quarterback in this league. If the issue is you're a quarterback away from the Super Bowl, I would be enamored if the 49ers were able to go get a Lamar. I obviously don't think it can happen, because, again, there's a lot of logistics. Like you said, they don't have an immediate two first rounds this year. They'd have to wait. And who knows? By that point, it might be resolved already. But the Ravens have not put a wide, like, how many times have we sat here and talked, Smitty, and said, look, the Ravens don't even have a wide receiver for Lamar, right? We don't even know what his full capability is to throw, because he hasn't had great receivers. The 49ers have Kittle. They have Ayuk. They have Debo. He knows how to use a good tight end, right? He's had great tight ends with the Ravens, Mark Andrews. You got George Kittle. You got Debo. You got CMC. I don't know. I think it'll be electric. It'd be amazing. I see why people don't like him. I get it. I get the injury, the injury, all that. I get it. But I think he's an electric player. And if the 49ers were to bring him in, they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I guess I'd ask you this question too. Like, because it's easy to be like, oh, we're supporting the team, don't want to talk negative, and I get that. A lot of times I'm on here, I try and hold back, because I know you guys are looking at it from a different angle. Like, this is our team, we're backing whoever's the guy, and I get that. I try and remember that when I come on here. But But like when I'm asked the question, my mind goes there. And I guess I'd ask you this: do you believe in your heart of hearts this is the best team you will have for the next 10 years? Like in
Probably,
terms of,
yeah,
yeah. So
probably. I think so.
So why not? Why not trade Trey Lance? It sucks, but it is what it is. You trade Trey Lance, even if you lose badly on the deal, you take a bath on the deal. You know, you didn't take a bath on the Christian McCaffrey trade. So you win some, you lose some, and you guys hit a home run on that. There were 30 other teams that sat on their hands when Christian McCaffrey was able to be acquired for a second, a third, and a fourth rounder. That is pitiful. And 30 teams should be embarrassed that they allowed the Niners to literally walk into the easiest trade. Yes, we'll take it that we've ever seen probably in the last 10 years. And again, I say this and I stand by it. You guys wouldn't have made the playoffs without Christian McCaffrey. What Christian McCaffrey did for this team was unbelievable. And I credit John Lynch. I've said I've been really hard on John Lynch. I like John Lynch in that right now. He proved to me I really like. I turned. I'm a John
No,
Lynch
you did.
supporter. I think that was a big John Lynch move.
It was.
But like again, McCaffrey, his win. I know Niner fans want to believe he's got 3 or 4 years left. He doesn't. He has one, maybe if you're super lucky, 2 years left because he's been the highest percentage of his team's offense more than any player in the National Football League. Like especially in Carolina, he was miles above everybody else in terms of being the highest percentage of his team's offense. He is a smaller guy and he's been worked, into the ground to the point where he walked into 2022, the year you guys got him halfway through. He walked into that year as a very doubted player. People were like, is he ever going to return to form? I don't trust him because it had been 2 years he hadn't been able to stay healthy. You guys have 1 to 2 years left with him. Without Christian McCaffrey alone, even if everything else stayed perfect, everything else stayed in place, you are like 1/4 of the team lesser. It's just this is how it is. Like, it doesn't matter. He's on your team, so it's not offensive, right?
You're absolutely
it's like
right.
saying it's like saying to somebody you used to in that photo you were a lot heavier. You look great now. That when I talk about McCaffrey, you got to take it that way. Don't take it like, oh, this guy just ripped on our team. McCaffrey's on your team. You currently are that right now. So don't take offense to when I say, I'm not saying you, Raj, but anybody saying, oh, we are still, he's saying we're a quarter less without McCaffrey. You are, but you have McCaffrey now. So you look beautiful. You look great. You look slim, Raj. You look absolutely fantastic right now with Christian McCaffrey on your side. You look smooth. 9.5 out of 10. It's not gonna last. It's not gonna last. I would go on Raj. I would go on all in on A-Rod. I'd go all in on Lamar. I would do what I had to do to get an elite passer under center and just win a championship and let that just fuel the franchise for the next 10 years.
Get us championship, and we'll be if we get a championship, we'll be happy for another 25 years. But the thing is, like, I love Christian McCaffrey. I think he was amazing. You're absolutely right. The 49ers, their fortunes turn when they got CMC. He is 26. I think he has 2 more years left in him. But the way the 49ers use running backs, the way their history is, it's a tough offense. It's to grind you out. It's a meat grinder, right, for the 49ers. I do see Christian McCaffrey in 2 years. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do after that because it's like I said, a grinded out offense. I mean, he's going to go through these next 2 years and just be a big part of this. I mean, look what he did this last year. Like, it was absolutely amazing. I think he's still going to have a great rest of his career with the 49ers here. But running backs are that one position, man, where they're short. Their shelf life is shorter than most. And he's amazing. So this window with Christian McCaffrey, this window with him being this amazing player that's going to elevate your team, it's not 4 years, it's not 5 years. And that's what you're saying, because John Lynch brought him in to win a Super Bowl pretty much within the next couple of years, like within the next 2 years. That's what he brought him in for. He says, look, I need CMC. He's still in his prime. Players are not in their prime forever. You still have George Kittle, who maybe has a year or 2 left in his prime. He takes a beating out the Deebo Samuel. I love Deebo, but he's got 2-3 years of peak Deebo and maybe less, because this guy plays at a high, blistering, physical, like the amount of pounding he takes on his body, it's tough, man. So these guys are going to be together for a short amount of time. And I love Trey. I love Brock Purdy. There's just a lot of uncertainty. If you go get an elite quarterback, your chances of winning Super Bowl just go up exponentially because their good defense is going to be good. And I know they got to pay these guys. And I get it. Like, there's a salary cap, and I'm not saying it's a realistic option. But if it is an option, if they do their due diligence and they're like, holy crap, we can actually make it happen, I think you got to make it happen. I don't think that there's a very high chance of it happening. But if they can, I would love it. I would love it because you just elevated the position that you've been sitting here 6 years. Oh, we need a quarterback. You just elevated it.
I'm such an aggressive, like, I would be such an aggressive GM. I'd either destroy a team within 2 or 3 years, or it would be it would be a monster monopoly of the entire NFL. I know that about myself, but I'm so crazy. You know what I would do is you don't ever trade for a franchise quarterback. I'm sorry, franchise tagged quarterback, like unless you work out a long-term deal in conjunction with it, right? I would even trade for Lamar Jackson on the franchise tag without the contract worked out. Ooh. I wouldn't even care. Because guess what? You're renting him for $32 million for 1 year up front. You have no ties to him long term. I'd even do that. If he ends up escaping without an offer sheet, because the way this process works, a lot of people don't really understand it. But if Lamar Jackson gets offer sheets, left and right from people, but they're all cheeks, bro. They're horrible offers. He's not going to sign one. So what happens is he doesn't just take the best offer or anything. He goes back to his team, and his team essentially on July 15, if they don't work out a long-term deal and he doesn't go to another team, that's a long period of time too. July 15, that's a long ways away. And the NFL draft is passed at that point, so the Niners can get involved even if you did want to. You could potentially trade. But even later on, if things are not working out, I'm not saying this would ever happen. I'm saying this is how aggressive I would be with your team. I would trade for Lamar on the $32 million franchise tag and say, give me Lamar for 1 year. I'll figure it out. We'll push, you can always work out the money.
You can always work out. Eventually.
He's, and you know what, to be honest, Lamar would rather be franchise tagged on the Niners than franchise tagged on the Ravens, and everybody knows it. So,
you think so?
You know what I'm saying? Lamar wouldn't be even opposed to playing on the tag for the Niners for 1 year. I'm not saying that's the smartest way to go about it. I think the Niners should try and actually acquire him because you guys have more than 1 year window potentially.
You can lock him up and be a franchise quarterback for a couple. That's interesting.
I would definitely lock him up, but I'm just saying I would still teams are like, well, if he's not going to sign a long-term deal, we're not going to trade for him. I still would because you put Lamar it's one of those things where all the fan bases everywhere would rip on you for whatever reason. Your Niners are going to be broke. Watch. We heard the same thing about Mahomes. Mahomes signed his 10-year deal. They're never going to be able to block for him ever again. What do? The next year they retooled the offensive line. They're fine. They're completely fine.
Offensive line, why they won the Super Bowl. They kept Mahomes upright. They didn't allow any sacks from the mighty Eagles who had 70. That was a big part of why they won. They did have a good O-line. Obviously, Creed Humphrey was an amazing draft pick, and Orlando Brown, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, they did. I just don't – I definitely think it would be amazing. I agree with everything he said. It hits all the boxes. You go in. That is interesting to do a one-year thing. But, again, it's more of the aggressiveness of the 49ers because they're very calculated. Would they want to go and rent a player? I mean, if they want to win the Super Bowl, I think it definitely would make sense. But go ahead.
So you're let's do it. Let's do it this way. Nobody's giving an offer sheet to Lamar that he wants to sign. You get through the NFL draft, and so it's May 5th or whatever. It's May 5th. Yeah, you're sitting around. Mm-hmm. You guys say Lamar, will sign this offer sheet here. Here's the deal. He doesn't want to sign it. And then, like I said, July 15 passes. And he's on the $32 million contract. That's the way that works. So if he doesn't sign an offer sheet, it's all on Lamar.
Yeah, he gets
doesn't sign an offer sheet in which the team can look at it and say, no, we're going to pass. Give us your 2 first-rounders. Then he goes back on the roster essentially at $32 million because that's the tag they gave him, and he plays on that. They can still work out a long-term deal, but he's playing at $32 million. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, and actually, I don't even know how long they can actually work the long-term deal out, but he plays at $32 million. And so that's what I'm saying. At that point, he's going to be so unhappy.
He's going to be so pissed.
I would still give.
Now, where he's going to be like disgruntled. He's coming into camp like thinking that he doesn't want to work out a long-term deal. So he'd
Right.
rather be at 32 million with a
So
new team that he might be able to work out a deal with and stay long. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah,
And hey, you got Kittle. You got maybe you can win a Super Bowl with this super team.
and I still would give up to 2 first rounders. Like I still would give up. That's just me. I give up to 2 first rounders. Trade Trey Lance for a first rounder if you could even get it. I don't even know if you could.
I don't know if
And
you can
like
get a first, maybe.
yeah, I feel like even at that point, like, you know, you could work out a long-term deal maybe with him, but he would rather play on the franchise tag at 32 million in San Francisco than he would in Baltimore. I guarantee you, because guess what? He's going to win a Super Bowl. Who's not? And what do you think he's going to do for his value at that point? He can go wherever he wants. Super Bowl champion, Lamar Jackson.
That's perfect.
You know,
I mean, yeah, if he won a Super Bowl with the 49ers and he just proved everybody wrong, boom, his asking price is going to be through the roof. I agree with that. So it is going to be interesting because now we have to see, okay, he got the non-exclusive tag. Is anybody even going to offer the 2 first-round picks? And if we don't, we get to the draft, then you're going to have the teams that could offer him next year, like you said, Miami, 49ers. And if we get past that point, it's going to go drag into training camp. And Lamar doesn't want to pay for $32 million. He really does. He doesn't. Like, it's a great amount of money. It's a lot. But when you got Danny Dimes making the money he just made today, you got Derek Carr making the money he made yesterday. When you're at these quarterbacks that Lamar in his heart of heart knows, and Lamar is better than those guys. Let's be honest. Lamar's better than Danny Dimes. Lamar's better than Derek Carr. And they're going to be getting paid more than him. He's going to be he wants to get paid what he's worth. And he deserves it, man. It's a crazy situation. Again, if he were to ever come to the 49ers, I'd be crazy. It is going to take some issues to kind of, not issues, it's going to take some work to do it. If they wanted him, if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want him, they're going to have to do some work because they don't have the first round picks. But, I mean, right now, we're at this point where we don't even know what the hell's going to happen with the 49ers quarterbacks. We don't know if Brock Purdy's coming back early in the season, mid-season, late season, no season.
So
we don't know what
franchise
here.
The franchise tag deadline of July 15 is when the team has to come to terms on a new deal. So you're tagging the franchise tag was designed back in the day for quarterbacks, and it was only for quarterbacks. And it wasn't necessarily to have them play on that as much as it was to, the players called it the prison tag. They still kind of do. They're being held in a prison. They're being
they're like
And so the whole design of it is on this franchise tag day today, where at 4 p.m. players were franchise tagged on the 7th of March. On July 15th, the window closes again for the new extension to be worked out, or trades or whatever. On July 15, that's the last opportunity to sign the player to a long-term extension. If the two sides cannot reach an agreement by 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, July 15, the player will play the season on the franchise tag amount for that position. So $32 million for Lamar. And parties cannot renegotiate until after the end of the regular season. So
not until the next season. Season. So that's great. So that's good to know. You know what? That actually is good to know for the 49ers, because we got Nick Bosa extension, all that good stuff. So that kind of comes in play because these extensions could take some time. So even if Lamar goes to a new team, and he doesn't sign an extension yet, he's going to want to rework his contract if he's happy at this new team. You know what I mean? You're right. If he does end up having to play on a franchise tag, eventually he's going to want to work out a longer deal. So it's interesting to know. It is going to be one of those things where we're going to have to look at this process. But I want to ask you real quick. So obviously, like you said, there was teams that reportedly don't want him. That's what they're saying. But I feel like you're right. Like you said, like all these teams are going to say that per a source. Is it really credible? Are these teams bluffing? Are they, because they don't want to give their hand to Atlanta? I still think Atlanta's a team that's like, well, we should get Lamar Jackson. If I'm Atlanta, I'm knocking the door down to get Lamar Jackson. Like, where do you think he ultimately goes? Do you think those teams are bluffing?
I would have almost not bet my right arm or anything, but like, maybe a pinky toe or something that the Falcons would have been the front runner, because they went so hardcore after Watson. Very similar playing style. Mike Vick days. Like I just, it felt real. It felt so real. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Algier. They beat the Niners. They were very much in close games the entire year, except for like that Bengal game. It was within like 3 to 7 points losses the whole entire season. The Falcons actually balled out last year when you look at it
They
from
were
that
better
perspective.
than the record looks like. Yeah,
And then
I'll
to
agree.
hear, and right from the jump, immediately, the Falcons are not expected to go after Lamar. I just don't buy it. I don't. You'd have to be incompetent to not even entertain it like an offer sheet to him. You know what I mean? You'd have to be literally like stupid to not to say, okay, we've got Ritter, and we don't even want to throw a bad offer on the table on an
At
offer
least
sheet
an
to
offer.
Lamar
At least an
to
offer.
see.
What about Houston? They got first round. They got one of the top 3 picks.
Yeah.
New head coach, got D'Amico Ryans. What about Houston? They get
I think
Lamar?
Houston's definitely a potential option. The only problem with Houston is they have the 2 pick, and I think they probably have to surrender that first of the 2. I'm not positive on that, but I would imagine so. And that's just like you're never going to be in that 1 or 2 overall position again for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and you're better off getting that cheap player that if you believe Stroud or Richardson or whoever you like, Bryce Young is literally going to be better than Lamar, then it's like it's a no-brainer to not do the move.
It's tough. That's what you have to. So then it comes down to is the rookie quarterback that you value, that you have scouted, that you think is going to be your guy. Is he going to be better than an MVP, Lamar Jackson? It's a tough situation because the 49ers were in this position a couple years ago, and they traded, they got Trey, and that's what you're banking on, that this young quarterback that you're gonna draft is gonna be an elite quarterback in 2-3 years once they hit the development, and they're gonna be playing. You're gonna build around this quarterback on a rookie contract. You're gonna be able to pay him pennies on the dollar compared to some of these elite quarterbacks, Lamar being the guy, and that's what you're hoping. So you have to really make the right decision. I think Lamar going to Houston could be smart, but again, they'd have to build around him, and right now they don't have anybody. And you're right, being at this point where they only have this, they have the second round, the number 2 pick. You don't get that every year.
Yeah. You know what I don't know, because I spoke on something I don't 100% know on yet, because I was just spitballing the idea. If, let's say, Lamar Jackson doesn't sign an offer sheet, doesn't work out a long-term deal with the Baltimore Ravens, July 15 comes and he's slapped with the $32 million salary, which is no longer negotiable. You can't extend him. He's $32 million for 2023, no matter what. You screwed up if you didn't extend him. If you regret not extending him, you can't even go back and do it. He's $32 million, 1-year deal. What I don't know, I don't see why he couldn't be traded on that new contract, but is there a stipulation where a player can't be traded on a franchise tag $32 million deal? I've never heard that before, so I don't think so. But if there isn't a restriction for trading a $32 million franchise tagged quarterback post July 15, I'm telling you, that's the move, Raj. It would be the weirdest move in the history of the NFL. But I'm trying to look it out. I'm looking it over. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows the answer to this, but I've never heard before that a player's incapable of being traded that's franchise tagged.
I don't know. It makes sense to me that you can move him around, but I don't know. Maybe he holds out at that point, and then you might as well trade him. So it depends, because if he can hold out, then you could trade him. So I don't know.
He still gets fined, though. He still gets fined.
Fine.
Yeah.
He'll get fined a lot of money. So if he wants to not get fined, he got to show up. But a lot of players, they want to put their foot down. They want to make a statement. Le'Veon Bell did it, they're okay with getting fined. If they, in their heart of hearts, want to make that statement, they're going to hold out. They're going to eventually get their money.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar would be a better shot at it working out for his best interest. Lev Bell was at the end of his career. He should not have done that. He wasted so much money. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, bro. But all I can say is Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be off the table for me. I look at, and we didn't even talk about the defense. Like, you have Kittle, you have CMC, you have a lot of these guys that have a short shelf life. But like, your defense is really what's like the lifeblood of the team. In conjunction with Christian McCaffrey too. But like, if this defense starts to fall apart and then McCaffrey's no longer McCaffrey and then Kittle's no longer Kittle, you're a shell of the current version of the 49ers. Like that is a big difference.
If the defense falls apart, we're screwed, because the defense carries the team a lot. They're the heart and soul of this team. But the one thing that, we're not even mentioning right now is how good that the 49ers draft, and they they bring up this young talent. They can continue to do it, but eventually you still need superstars. You still need your players like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and as long as they're there, they're going to pace the defense. But you can't expect the defense every single day, every single week, every year to be top two, because you're going to lose some players. Like this year, we're going to lose quite a bit of players on the defensive side. So it'll be interesting. And we have a new defensive coordinator. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of return this year, if they can still be top defense in the league, So it's interesting. And again, like, you're never going to be an elite team forever. You can't be at the top of your game for 5, 6, 10. In this year, in the way the NFL works now, with all the salary cap, with all the parity, with all the turnover, and just the way it is now, like, I can't see a team being like elite for like a decade. Like, it's just hard to see that, like, you're going to get to a point where you break down, I feel. And sometimes you just got to go all in. And I don't know if this is even feasible, because the 49ers have certain things they want to focus on, and the Nick Bosa and salary cap. They still got to do a lot of restructuring to even see if they can make this work. But man, if there is a chance, I'm Team Lamar. I am Team Lamar.
By the way, the deadline is not the 15th of July; it's the 17th, I guess, because of the weekend this year.
Okay.
But it does say a designated player must sign his tender prior to Tuesday following Week 10 in order to remain eligible to play in the current season. So if let's say Lamar did hold out, he'd be back before that point. But I don't think he holds out. And with the new agreement with the NFLPA and all the negotiations they did a while back, players can't get those fees waived. Like, remember when Zeke used to hold out and it'd be like he'd accrue $10 million or $5 million in fines, and they'd waive it. And he finally agreed to terms, they waive it. You can't waive any of that stuff. So, there's no, his holding out wouldn't do anything. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that if he held out the entire year, the team still has the right to franchise tag him again. They probably wouldn't, because of the pain and annoyance of it all, and just not wanting to hold hostage this tag and not be able to use it on another player. But I'm pretty sure that the player doesn't just hit free agency. I'm almost positive Lev Bell just wasn't tagged again, and so therefore Lev Bell was able to go wherever he wanted. But it's a complex situation. The tag is very, very strange. And there's a lot of nuance to it, but
49ers, they don't even use the tag very, very, very rarely in their whole career, their history. So the last time the 49ers used the tag was 4 years ago on Robbie Gould, the kicker, and they tagged him because he was ready to get out of there and go back to Chicago or go close to home. And the 49ers were like, look, we want to keep you, man. We love you. We want to tag you. So they tagged him. They used the franchise tag on him. And then when he was set to hit free agency again, he's like, look, man, I don't want the tag again. And they're like, all right, what do you want? And he told them, I need a contract stick. This is what I want. And they gave this man a lot of money to return to the Niners. And this year, he says, listen, man, I'm testing free agency. I love this team. I love my opportunity, but I want to go elsewhere. So they didn't tag him. And the whole tenure of the 49ers history, the whole history, they've only tagged 5 players. They tagged before. So they tagged Steve Young, T.O., Deshaun Golson, and Julian Peterson. That's pretty much who they tag, man. It's crazy. They don't tag anybody. So it's a very specific, like, it's very special for 49ers if you want to tag someone. But the reason is because it becomes just so messy, and there's so many logistics, and you have to pay a guy a certain amount, and sometimes you may not have the extra money to pay that guy that money, because $32 million, in the grand scheme of things, it's low for a quarterback, but $32 million is a lot of money. But you got to pay a guy that you may not even want on this team anymore.
Well, $32 million for quarterbacks, but yeah, I mean, $32 million is nothing now that Danny Dimes signed his deal, and now Carr signed. Like, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the deals are getting progressively more and more expensive. Gino's deal was huge, and then here comes Danny Dimes, who signs a deal that gets him, I believe it's $92 million essentially guaranteed. He's got a $92 million.
That's what I said. Danny Dimes and Geno Smith making crazy money. And
right.
So you're going to tag Lamar at 32, which, again, 32 in relative to those guys is not much. But $32 million for a guy that probably doesn't want to play for you anymore, that's stupid if you're the Ravens. It's stupid. Go get out. Figure it out.
It is stupid. What's even more stupid is if he, and we've heard different things and we don't know what's true. If he wants to potentially go back, like, why would you want to go back to a place where you failed 3 years in a row?
Yeah.
I call Lamar Jackson a bust every single year for 3 years straight. I've said he's a bust candidate. Don't draft him in fantasy football, and he's busted 3 years in a row. It's 90% situation though. Is because
Yeah.
they do things like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and run the ball a ton this year. We're gonna change things up, and hey, are our running backs ready? Is J.K. Dobbins off crutches yet from his ACL? Oh, what about Gus the Bus? Is Gus still on crutches? Oh, yeah, we got the all ACL team, and we've decided to go ground and pound. You know what that means, Raj?
Trade your receiver Hollywood Brown away. We're just gonna trade him
Yeah.
away.
Trade Hollywood Brown away, and hey, we're gonna ground and pound. And Lamar's going, wait a minute. This is like, bro, this is like when I bought a gerbil when I was a little kid, and my dad said, "You gonna take care of it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, Dad, I'm gonna clean it, everything." Henry, his name was Henry. He got his foot caught in the cage, jumped, dislocated his leg, broke it. His leg was backwards the rest of his life. He was too hard to take care of for a little kid. I let my dad take care of. My dad took care of him every single day. This is the story. I talked about this story on my YouTube today.
Man.
It's
Henry.
like, hey, it's like Lamar going to the team. Yeah, poor Henry. Lamar going to the team and saying, okay, you're going to run the ball more than ever, you said. Is that going to fall on me? Or no, we got J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus. They're coming back from ACL tears. They'll be fine. You won't have to do a thing. Just allow us to change the offense, just like that, Raj. And I guess who it all fell on? Lamar Jackson, who ran more than ever. He runs now. He used to run 170 plus times a season. Now he's up in the 190 to 200 times a season. And guess who injured his knee and had a 2/grade 3 tear? And Raj knows more than he is because he's a doctor in this field. A grade 3 is bye-bye. You have surgery. He had a 2/grade 3 PCL tear. Like, part of me wonders, Raj, if maybe the reason some teams are out, and we'll find out, is there something going
maybe
on
because the injury was pretty significant. Yeah, I wondered that too and everybody was like, "Oh, Lamar, he's injury prone and this and that." But bro, they grinded him out. I think someone in the comments earlier said that this proves that the Ravens just didn't respect. They didn't. To me, they didn't really respect Lamar. They didn't. They threw him out there, made him play like a running back. He's a quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But they didn't let him shine. They took away his favorite receiver. They threw him out there like he's freaking King Henry out there, CMC, man. And you're right, wear and tear. You're gonna hurt your knee if you're running that many times. I do feel bad for Lamar. He's a great player, but I think he was kind of treated unjustly out there with the Ravens.
You guys are pioneers. You guys are pioneers, and you're gonna set a trend this year. That the trading for Christian McCaffrey on a second, third, and fourth round pick. Derrick Henry's potentially on the block now. The Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat that everybody's looking at. How do we beat this team? How do we get better? How do we one up the Kansas City Chiefs? Derrick Henry is going to be on the trade block. Nick Chubb's reportedly may be available. And given the cost of these guys will probably be a second round pick, or 2/3 or whatever. Derrick Henry's going to the Buffalo Bills, or Derrick Henry's going to the Cincinnati Bengals, or Derrick Henry's going to, maybe he goes to the Eagles, bro. You don't even know. Like, it's crazy to think about.
AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Travis or King Henry.
I
think he goes to Buffalo. I mean, they need a running back. They're a running back.
Buffalo is currently the thought, but you guys pioneered that because guess what? Everybody else just said, nah, we don't do that for running backs. We don't do it second round. It's so weird. The NFL coaches and NFL clubs, they covet draft picks like second and third rounders like they're gold. They're crapshoots, And if you could get Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey, even if Derrick Henry said, and look, I'm a big proponent of avoiding Derrick Henry in a fantasy football draft because of his first round value or borderline first round value still because he's 29 years old. But if you're an NFL team, it's different because you're not trying to bank on 17 straight games, and will you screw up your fantasy football team if you draft him in the first round and he misses 4 games? Like there's a lot of risk for Henry to play 17 games. But if you're the Buffalo Bills and let's say he gets banged up for 4 games in between and you get him back for the playoffs, you're unstoppable in the playoffs running Derrick Henry if he's still got anything left in the tank for his final year.
Yeah, if he's there for your playoff run, man, that is dangerous because nobody's going to be able to stop that guy. And you're right. Like, the 49ers, I think they kind of set the precedent now. And I think people are going to be able to say, oh, okay, if we can get a running back like that, all it takes is a second or maybe like a third round. You know who's a third round running back? Because if you're going to try to replace Henry or CMC or Saquon Barkley or somebody like that tier with the third round running back, you're getting Trey Sermon. That didn't work out too good. So
Yeah. Who cares about a third?
Henry or any of those guys in a heartbeat over your third round running back who, again, Trey Sermon's third round running back. I'm sure there's other examples. It's just the one that comes to mind. That's
you know,
crapshoot. You can hit and get an Alvin Kamara, or you can fail and get a Trey Sermon.
Bro, I'm so crazy. If I was the Niners, I'd trade for Derrick Henry and I'd rotate the two. I would just be like, give me like, why not? Why do teams think that that's not doable? Why do teams? I'm telling you, I'd be so aggressive as a GM, Raj. It would be crazy. I'm sure I could drive the team straight into the ground. I at least acknowledge that. But if I was running things and I had CMC, the normal person is going to say, yeah, we're not going to give up a second rounder for Derrick Henry. I would say, why not? Why do we not go get Derrick Henry? Why do we not?
He's better than a second round player that you're going to get immediately first year.
Why? These teams are incompetent. They're really incompetent sometimes. I don't understand, like, who makes the decisions. Is some guy in a suit that doesn't leave a boardroom that might have final say over this team or that team. Like, GMs don't always have control. Jerry Jones has a lot of control over the Dallas Cowboys, moves. It's crazy, man. It's the NFL and the way that picks are valued are insane. It's so insane. Second rounders and third rounders they can be good, but look at everything you guys have done in the draft is usually later. It's usually Kittle very late. Brock Purdy last pick.
That's why I say sometimes it's not about the first 2-3 rounds, because the 49ers, some of their best players are 5th, 6th, 7th undrafted fucking players, man. Like, some of our starters are undrafted. We turn water into wine, and that's what you do. If you're a good scout and you have these late round picks, like Juwan Jennings, 7th round pick, he's a valuable player on our team. George Kittle, 5th round pick. Dre Greenlaw, 5th round pick. Tamu Funga, 5th round pick. Fred Warner was a 3rd round pick. These are some of your best players on your team, and they're late round. Obviously, you can get some great talent in the first round. Nick Bosa, 1st round pick. Debo, 2nd round. But for the amount of players that come into the NFL draft, the combine, there's so much talent. You're bound to find some later round guys that just slip.
Yeah. All right, I better head out of here, but appreciate it, and good luck with the quarterback situation. I have a feeling, leaving it on a positive note, as much as I would go get Aaron Rodgers, as much as I would go get Lamar, and I would try and win with this short window. You got, if you ask me, is there still a shot the Niners win with the current 2 quarterbacks they have on roster? Sure. You guys still have the ability, if Purdy were to come back and play the way he was, then, you're fine. But, it's just the uncertainty and oh God, I'm holding my breath. We're all holding our breath. We all don't feel real comfortable right now because Purdy's an unknown and Trey Lance is not believed in. And if you were made to feel, if Shanahan were to come out and go, look, Trey Lance is going to he's going to explode and he's going to turn heads and he's going to show all the doubters that he's going to, if Shanahan were to come out and say that, or John, or, especially Shanahan, I would be so excited. But I feel like if you ask Kyle Shanahan who his starting quarterback is, he's more worried about the perception of surprise and it even matters. Anybody cares. You're not going to start preparing now. You're not going to go into week 1 oh, we're going to shut down Trey Lance instead of Brock Purdy, who's not going to be ready for week 1 anyway. If he would just say, look, Trey Lance we're going to ride and die with Trey, and Trey's going to go out and ball. And I'm not even to discuss Purdy right now, who we would ride and die and ball with too.
All I need to see them give the vote of confidence. Just go out there and give it. They can't even give them the vote of confidence. That's what irritates me about it, because they had their end of season presser, and then John Lynch last week at the combine. He didn't give me any confidence. I think Trey can be great, but I just need to hear it from them, and because that's what's going to help you believe, right? I didn't hear John Lynch at all say Trey is going to be the man. He's going to come in and go crazy. What did he say? He goes, well, Trey's got to stay healthy. Best ability is available. He's right. Trey's got to stay healthy.
But why say it? Yeah, you're right. You're right. He's right. But why say it? It's just
I came away with that press conference going, I feel confident that the team is confident in it. I love Trey. I think he's got so much potential. Me and you know we do. But
Yeah.
coaching staff and the front office and nobody, and they're not going to vouch for you and give you that vote of confidence. It's kind of
Imagine everybody watching right now. You're at your job right now, and your boss comes up to you and either says, "Hey, somebody goes, is this your employee?" And they go, "Yeah, I have all the confidence in this person in the world. They know what they're doing, and if he
they're
doesn't know, he'll
great.
figure it out, and it's getting done." Like, what's better, that or yeah, this guy, probably going to be okay with him. We're not sure, but if
Scratch your head and say,
he's got to
he
he's
just
got to
got to
keep
show up to work.
he's got to keep his head on straight, but he could help you.
Yeah.
He's got to stay
This
healthy.
guy's got to show up to work. He's not always here.
Yeah,
Not what
and as much flowers as I like to give Sirianni for what he did, I know a lot of people don't. Sirianni did actually not support Jalen Hurts the year prior and the year prior to that, and I would rip on him constantly and say, "Look, you've got no one behind him." Like Raj, he had nobody behind Jalen Hurts, and they would say, "Is Jalen Hurts your guy?" And he'd say, we're heading into it. We're figuring it out. And all, like, he wouldn't support him. And Jalen struggled, for a while. Then they acquired AJ Brown, and then AJ Brown's a big voice. AJ Brown's a big presence, and AJ Brown made it a very big mission of his to be like, this is our dude. And it kind of rubbed off. And then by that time, Sirianni was behind, Jalen, and Hurts had the support, but you saw the same thing happen in Philly, and it drove me nuts. Like
the domino effect. And you're right, because if John Lynch were to say, "I love Trey. Trey's the guy. I believe in him." If he would have just said, "I believe in him," and Kyle Shanahan says, "I believe in him," well, guess who else is going to say, "I believe in him"? George
the
Kittle,
team,
Brock, the team, Debo, everybody on the team, CMC. They're going to say, "I believe him." You know who they say they believe in right now? Brock Purdy, the guy
right?
that's going to surgery on Friday. They're not saying they believe in Trey. They say, "Oh, he's got potential. He could be good. He could be good. He could be good. We don't know." But if their front office and the coaching staff
Right.
says Trey Lance is the man, he's going to be good, the team will believe it because they believe in what the front office is telling them, and
It's
their
ridiculous,
plan.
bro.
They'll have confidence, and it sucks because I even listened to Nick. So you remember the night they had the award ceremony last month, right? The Nick Bosa wins Defense Player of the Year. They're interviewing these players before the ceremony. There was something that Nick Bosa says, and he was like, "Yo, Brock's the guy." He got it. Like he gave the same kind of statement that Kittle did, and they're not wrong that it's Brock's team to lose. But what Nick Bosa said about Trey Lance, he goes, if he doesn't uh, play good, and if he doesn't win a competition, he goes, at least he could be a good backup. That's fucking what your own
Bro.
defensive
Bro,
play. Like, this
that's
is
why
what
I
the
don't.
Bible.
That's why I don't think it's the best option to go down this road because you don't have the
They don't believe
support,
in him.
for. But maybe they change like Sirianni did. But we'll
Yeah,
have to see. But
it starts with the front, Smitty. It starts with your leadership. If your
I
leadership
know.
believes in him, it'll instill confidence in everybody. That's all I wanted to hear John Lynch
Right.
say. Yes, I believe in Trey. He'll be ready. Trey's the guy. We're gonna rock. We're gonna roll with Trey. We're gonna roll behind Trey. That's all I wanted to hear.
Or at least something like, let's say Brock Purdy and Trey were both on the stage and be like, look, these are both our ride or dies. It's like asking me to pick children. And if one of them's in the lineup, the other one's going to have to literally pry the job away from the other with the lifeless fingers. Like that's the support that you need, or you're walking into a complete disaster. And here's two examples real quickly before I go is what did Miami Mike do when he got on the plane? Hadn't even met Tua face to face. Tua, you're my guy. I'm gonna record it, put it on social media, and that's how you coach. What did Gannon do? As much as people want to rip on Gannon, what do you do when he came to Arizona? Made sure everyone knew. He said the only reason he came to Arizona was because of Kyler Murray, and not that I necessarily love Kyler Murray, but I love that support.
Them or not, whether Mike McDaniel believed in Tua or not, whether Gannon believes in Kyler or not, it doesn't matter. They came in and they put their foot down and said, "Do we believe in them?" Regardless if they do or not, they made the statement. Look at Tua this year. I mean, obviously, got him Tyreek Hill and the weapons were amazing, but Tua had his best season of his NFL career, minus the concussions. But that's because Mike McDaniel instilled confidence. You saw all the NFL film videos this year. They ate that content up. You see the video of Tua and Mike McDaniel on the sideline, just like they're like best buds. Like, oh man, I love you. He's instilling confidence in him. That's all you got to do. Instill confidence in your young quarterback. That's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
And if he sucks, he sucks. I get it. But if you give him the option to have that confidence in him and you give him that opportunity to go shine, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, he'll probably do better than he would if you don't instill that confidence.
Yeah.
He's 22 years old, Smitty. When you're 22, you're still fragile. Your mind's still developing. You need people to give you positive reinforcement. That's what they need.
Yeah. And last thing, NFL Me said, Smitty, do you give Jackson his money? We see his upside, but with an MVP. But we also see his injuries pile up. But this is like I said, 90% Baltimore's problem, 10% Lamar runs so much that he's got an injury risk to his name. But when you ask him to run 200 times a season because you want to be run heavy and you don't provide him any wide receivers or weapons, and you just enable him to run like he's enabled to run. If he went to the 49ers, he would probably cut his running in like, I don't know, down 60%. It would be way less. I know Shanahan will want to use him, but he would be cut down tremendous amount. And he wouldn't need to, he'd have weapons he's never seen before, sniffed before. I liken this to the Chicago Bears situation with Justin Fields. Fields is running so much. When people say that the Bears wouldn't entertain a potential trade, I don't think that that's 100% correct. I think that 90% of their posturing right now is a smokescreen to try and get rid of the number 1 overall pick. And they've even come out and said that they're leaning toward trading it. They have to size up everybody and they have to be blown away to draft a quarterback number 1. They have made it a little bit more clear. But if anybody thinks that the Texans couldn't come around and say, we'll give you the number 2 pick and we'll give you the number 12 pick for Fields. And then the Bears would have 1, 2, and 12. And they could take 2 and turn it into like a pick 15 and a pick 20 something. And then they could draft Bijan, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Stroud, or Anthony Richardson. They literally could draft their entire future offense and draft Bijan, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Stroud in one first round if they did that. So there's a reason why they potentially could do that. But one of the supporting pieces is that they're running Fields into the ground. And I'm not saying they're trading Fields. I'm just saying it's not like a closed, book on this. They would potentially explore it because if they can't support him and they're not ready to support him and they're not capable of surrounding him with the right talent yet, he's running so much, he will eventually break. So Lamar's going to break in Baltimore. Fields, if they don't draft a wide receiver and they have the number 22, or no, the Bears have that 1 pick, but they also, what's their next pick? I forget where their next pick is. If they don't get Hopkins in a trade, if they don't go do something and give Fields support and draft the right pieces in this draft, Fields is going to be vulnerable to not lasting long at the NFL level or be in the same position Lamar's in Baltimore. Because everybody 2 years ago would have freaked out if you're talking about trading Lamar and not paying Lamar. Now there's a lot of people doubting Lamar because he keeps getting hurt. Fields is in the same boat. So to answer your question, I think he deserves the money in the right spot. In Baltimore, he's going to be a bust. And I've said that for 3 straight years because he's not set up to success in Baltimore. So
I agree. It's
right,
a tough situation. Real quick, last thing. Bears have the first number 1 pick overall, and their next pick is round 2, number 55 from the Ravens. So real quick. And then the last thing I want to say one thing. We're going to end it with this. We're going to leave you guys with this thought. Kyle Shanahan, when he was describing who he wanted for his quarterback several years ago when they traded up with the number 3 pick, he says, you want to find, this is what he says. He says, you want to find Drew Brees who can move like Lamar Jackson. I'm just going to throw that one out there.
Yeah, that's still not Lamar, but
I'm just saying, you want to move like Lamar. Why not go and get Lamar?
Yeah, it would be, bro, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd do it in a millisecond. And if I'm correct that he can still be traded after July 15 and not even be negotiated with, he has to play in the $32 million. I don't know if he can be. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to find out. But if he's disgruntled, doesn't sign an offer sheet, is locked into a $32 million deal, is enabled to negotiate at that point until the next season, I think the Niners could swoop in and give the same offer. See, here's the problem. Why do you guys, if you guys had 2 first rounders right now, let's say you did, or let's say the draft passes, and now you guys can entertain giving a first rounder in 2024, a first rounder in 2025 for Lamar Jackson. In order to do that, you have to put an offer sheet down, right? That offer sheet has to be a big enough number, 200+ million guaranteed, for Lamar to sign it. Then Lamar has to take it, or it gets brought to the Ravens, and the Ravens either reject it or accept it. If they reject it, then you guys send your 2 first rounders to the Ravens, and now you sign Lamar to that contract. So the problem with that for you guys is not only are you surrendering 2 first rounders, but you have to commit to the biggest contract you're ever going to sign.
And you have to commit for the second time because you traded up a couple years ago. And this time, you better win a Super Bowl. If you make this, if you were to make this move, you better bowl. Because if you go and trade first round picks for a quarterback for the second time, you better make this one work.
But here's the rub here. If you can find a way to wait, and let's say Lamar gets slapped with the $32 million deal because no offer sheets came in that he wanted to sign, I got to look into this. After July 15, would you still surrender the 2 first rounders for Lamar, knowing that it's in your control to either franchise tag him the next year and try and work out a deal yourself versus committing to $200 million guaranteed with the 2 first? So I'm just saying, if I was the Niners,
I have to look that part up. But I mean, regardless of the situation, I'm speaking on the Niners. If the Niners, I'm just saying, because this is hypothetical, it's smoke season. We're here to have fun.
Yeah.
If the 49ers did go into the position where they would trade it up, traded 2 picks when they can after the draft, like we said, and you don't win a Super Bowl, fuck, man. I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Yeah.
You have to.
I don't know. I'm going to look into it to see if you can trade, if a player can be traded on the tag after July 15. I'm going to see, because I think that would be the way to go. Because you would, I mean, you're giving up 2 first rounders, which sucks, but you're not obligated to anything in the future, and you still have the right to franchise tag him and work out a long-term deal. I just don't know if you can be traded on the tag after July 15. I'm going to look into it. But Raj, appreciate you. I got to go. I was live all day today. I was live all day yesterday. I'm going to be live all day tomorrow. I'm sure news is going to break. So I got to get some rest so I can be live on and off, because
I got to get up early. So yeah, I gotta get some sleep too. But appreciate you, Smitty. Appreciate you, man. You work harder than anybody in the business. We love you. Appreciate you for hopping on. We thought we were gonna do like a 15-minute show. This ended up being an hour of Lamar Jackson. I love it. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
All right, later, guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Smitty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. We stayed a little bit overtime. We went late night vibes. We got free agency coming next week. Love you guys. We're going to be doing a lot of lives in the next couple of weeks, because I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of news coming up per source. My man Nathan says late night shows are the best. They are. Hold up. John Lynch? Okay. We got a lot of news to talk about next week. I love y'all. Have a good rest of your night. Make sure you hit that like button, y'all. Make sure you hit that like button. Help me out. It helps the channel out. We don't just say it for nothing. I used to sit there, watch YouTube. Hit the like button. Hit the like. Like, it's like you're trained to say it. But it really does help. It helps the algorithm. Helps people find the page. It helps a lot. So hit that like button. Appreciate everybody that's in the stream tonight. It's a late show, and y'all shut up. I love y'all. Bang, bang. Not a gang.